It's your boy HDK. Today we're going to talk about making passive income with cryptocurrency. So we all know a lot of cryptocurrencies are on what's called a consensus mechanism. And that's a really difficult way to explain that we need to validate things that happen on the blockchain, and that requires multiple validations for it to be successful. And of course, to verify these transactions on the ledger, you can't make this consensus, this verification validation too easy. That's why for well-known cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of computing power to be able to validate these transactions, and we call that mining. And the reason why this has to be difficult is so that we can cut away any attacks to the system where they're just going to willy-nilly validate transactions all over the place. And this is usually the case when you have a proof of work kind of cryptocurrency. But as you can see, a lot of cryptocurrencies are coming into proof of stake, and that's where the word staking comes from. So what happens in staking is that you lock up the amount of cryptocurrency that you have. Let's say you had a bunch of Chainlink or Cardano or whatever you own, you have a bunch of it and you use that to actually validate transactions. And when you do validate transactions on the ledger, then you get rewarded a percentage of the transaction fee. So of course, the more you hold, the more you stake, the more money you're gonna make. This usually clocks in around between 4 to 10% per annum. And there are some coins out there that will yield all the way up to 100% per annum. There are services that are offered on centralized exchanges like Binance, Exodus, KuCoin, whatever, that they offer this kind of staking service. Usually these exchanges take a bit of a cut before you get your return, but they offer something pretty good anyway because they have a pretty big volume. For the best results, you might as well just stake your cryptos directly out of your wallet to what's called stake pools. That way you'll yield the best results. And definitely staking is one of the best practices if you do choose to hold a particular cryptocurrency for the long term. Now, second of all, we've got yield farming. Now, being able to yield farm will take you a little bit more effort to learn how to do, but the rewards can be slightly more than your staking returns. So with yield farming, you're providing what's called liquidity to facilitate transactions, basically swaps between two different currencies within a decentralized exchange. What are some of the decentralized exchanges we have? Well, on the Ethereum network, we got Uniswap, we got SushiSwap. And on the Binance Smart Chain network, we got PancakeSwap. And nowadays, we got some famous ones on Polygon as well. We got Polycat Finance. I think SushiSwap does a bit of that as well. Aave, all those guys, they're all on the Polygon network as well. Of course, there are decentralized exchanges coming up with other different networks as well. And with every single blockchain, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for you to get behind. But think about it, when you want to swap two separate coins, let's say you're trying to swap between Ethereum and Matic. That means in the decentralized exchange itself, you need to have some Matic and Ethereum to actually swap across. So let's say I came to the exchange and I said, look, I've got some Ethereum and I would like some Matic for it. Well, the exchange needs to have some Matic to give to whoever wants to sell some Ethereum. And that process is called providing liquidity. So you're basically putting the cryptocurrency that you own into the hands of the decentralized exchange so that it can be used for each transaction. You get paid a fee for actually locking that money up into the decentralized exchange. It's exactly like you putting real dollars into the bank. Let's put it this way. I go to the bank and I would like to borrow $100, right? That means the bank has to have $100 ready to give to me. Okay, let's say the bank didn't have any money to give me, even if I want to borrow the money right now. But let's say if someone else came in on another day and they gave the bank $100 in deposit, that means the bank is holding on to this amount of money that is $100. That means whoever is trying to borrow the $100 can actually borrow that money directly from the bank instantly. That is called liquidity. How liquid is the demand that the marketplace has? Well, that's exactly what you're providing. And for you to provide that $100 to the bank, what do you get in return? You get what's called interest. Works exactly the same way. So the bank pays you a little bit of interest for your $100 deposit. Well, Nexus 2 will pay you a yield based on the liquidity that you provide onto the marketplace as well. And you know what? It's a lot more than banks ever will pay you right now. For some of the yield farming that you can do, you can go to for example, a calculator if you wanted to do some yield farming on Uniswap. So between USDC and WETH, 0.05 fee. If you put in $1,000, then your annual fee, 24-hour fee is $4.22, and that's annualized at 154%, which is pretty freaking good, I'm not gonna lie. So these are the fees that you can do. And you know, the safer option is for you to go to an exchange with cryptocurrency that are pretty well traded so that you can make money on the transaction fees, because the more frequent there are transactions, the more money you're gonna be able to make. So you wanna go to a pretty hot DEX. Now, there are some DEXs out there that are pretty much new. They give you some really volatile coins, and to actually attract you to actually investing into that coin, they then can give you a very, very high return. So if you look at, for example, what's the one that this 13-year-old guy made, polygage.finance, and make sure when you put in these URLs that it's correct and you're not going to a phishing website. So wow, they launched an Avalanche as well. Good on him, young kid. So we're on the Polygon network, for example. Polygon actually came to market and they were offering crazy yield. So that's part of the reason why it's doing so well. Look at this, Gage and Define. Look at that, 22,000% per annum. That is pretty freaking high. But you know what? What's going to happen to Gauge? What's going to happen to DeFi? Well, we don't know. DeFi is a pretty stable cryptocurrency though. I mean, it's not a stable coin, but it's, you know, DeFi has been a really, really stable exchange. So that's not so bad, but we don't know what's going to actually happen to Gauge at all. So that's something that you should watch out for. So now what I'll do is I visit a website called Dap Radar. This is what it looks like. I go to DeFi and I look at the network that I want to sort of explore a bit further into. So I go to Polygon. That's one of the newer ones. We're obviously expecting some things to come out with Cardano and things like that. And I check out some of their exchanges. So Polycat Finance is a good one. Iron Finance is a notorious one, although they have had a recent upgrade, which is good out of the bank run that they had. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that in a minute. And within these exchanges, you can actually identify what kind of returns you're able to get. So if you go to farms, and the terminology is a little bit different between dexes. So it does take you a little bit of learning to do. So let's have a look. So this one doesn't require a pair, but you just have to put in fish, which is interesting. It looks like it's generating 65% a year. And you know what? This one here is fish and hope is 43,000% per year, and that's daily 1.66%. So there are some crazy high returns that you're going to get, but the total value locked is only $2,000. So that's actually pretty bloody low. So, you know, we've got Iron Finance. Iron Finance is a really interesting. I'm on the Polygon network again. If I look at some of the farm options, yeah, it looks like the APR is pretty shy. Ice Iron 174, 187% is pretty bloody good. So yeah, if you really look at it, the USDC and WETH on $1,000 investment with an annual fee of $4.22, annualized at 154%, sounds pretty dang good. Not only that, you know, I've given you some pretty curly examples here, but PancakeSwap has been around for God knows how long. And then if you go to, where is it? Staking, earn, farms, that's it. Farms is where we want to get into. Or maybe pools, they call it different things. We can see the APRs and, you know, how much money we can make out of it on an annual basis. Cake and BNB, BASD, BNB, 34%. So if you're planning to hold, you know, BNB for a long term, then 34% a year is pretty good. Obviously, for less known coins like MCB, you're going to get higher APRs as well. You can sort this by the highest APR. So if you're of a risk seeker, boom, go for it. Go for the highest return. Who knows? If one of the coins moon, then that's a good thing. But there's a problem. If one of the coins do moon, there could be some issues. So here I'm going to talk about some of the risks with these yield farming. Okay, number one risk is rug pull. So if you get into a DEX and people, you know, raise all this money with all the TVLs and everything, get all this volume into the actual exchange stuff, and then they decide to do a rug pull, well, you're finished. So be really careful with any potential rug pulls out there. You know, it can happen. It happens usually with a lot of those shit coins that don't really have any functionality. So just be watching out for those. The second issue that you might be having is some bad mechanics. So if you look at the Titan and the Iron Finance that I showed you before, right? So a few months ago, Mark Cuban actually invested into this marketplace called Iron Finance and Titan currency, and basically what we identified as a stable coin, which means it has to stay in that $1 region. It actually crashed down to like 58 cents, which was crazy, but it came back up to 75 cents. It's because of the tokenomics, the mechanics of it, that that's what it had to be. And a lot of people lost a lot of money, and the cryptocurrency that's behind it actually had what's called a bank run. You know, 1, 2, 3 people started selling it, and everybody just sold completely out of the market. So there are those risks as well. But most importantly, I would like to bring your attention to what's called a impermanent loss. Here's a very helpful article on impermanent loss, and that's something that you do really need to pay attention to. But with impermanent loss, what it basically says is that when you actually put in a pair of currencies so that you provide liquidity for exchange between these two cryptocurrencies, you want to make sure that each cryptocurrency is an equal portion in value, and it does what's called rebalancing. And through that process, if one of the cryptocurrencies go up really, really high, like let's say moves completely out of this earth, then you have the potential to lose money, and you're better off actually holding that coin that actually mooned. So long and the short of it is that if one of the cryptocurrencies that you are providing liquidity for goes up by these margins, then you will be losing these amounts of money. But in saying that, I think it's something that most people don't really need to worry about unless their currency does actually go like 10x or 100x. So if you're going for cryptocurrencies that are reasonably stable, and things like Ethereum, for example, that has a pretty limited outlook, then even if it may sort of 5x, 3x or something, or you keep an eye on it during that period, then I don't think, you know, impermanent loss is something that you should pay that crazy attention on. But if you're going for those smaller coins which has potential to moon out of this earth, then that's something that you really need to pay attention, because you could have been better off just holding the cryptocurrency as it is straight out without having to do any yield farming or staking or whatever. So I hope this video has been helpful for those of you who are holding cryptocurrency for the long term. You know, I wish you the best. Kind of interesting at the moment, but I'll make a comment on where I think we're going to head in terms of the cryptocurrency market in another video. But thank you so much for tuning into this video for today. Really appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't done so, you can make sure you go like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, and make sure you go check out my NFT project, DRNA, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.